Dear students, let us consider the new unit. It is Unit 3, Atomic Spectra. What is an atom? Atom, it is the smallest unit of ordinary matter that forms a chemical element. Atoms are extremely small and their size is of the order of 100 angstrom. And these atoms were assumed to be the smallest particles found in nature. But when J.J. Thomson performed experiments with cathode ray tubes, he showed that it is possible to break these atoms into further tiny particles. He showed that all the atoms contain tiny negatively charged particles, and he called those particles as electrons. And this is how J.J. Thomson discovered electrons. Using these electrons, J.J. Thomson proposed a model for the atom. That model is called as plum pudding model. The negatively charged electrons are uniformly distributed within a positively charged soup. Electrons are like the plums, and the pudding is nothing but the distribution of positive charge over the entire sphere. This plum pudding model was proposed by J.J. Thomson for the atom after discovering electrons. According to this model, the atom as a whole is electrically neutral. But this model failed to explain the stability of the atom. This model also failed to explain the scattering of alpha particles by thin metal foils. Alpha particles are nothing but the positively charged particles identified as nuclei of helium atoms. The scattering of these alpha particles from the thin metal foils was not explained by the model proposed by J.J. Thomson. Thus, that model was failed. Later, Rutherford proposed one more model for the atom. It is Rutherford's atom model. And this model he proposed by performing the experiment. That experiment is scattering of alpha particles by thin metal foils. According to Rutherford's atom model, the entire mass of the atom is concentrated at the center of the atom, and that center is called as the nucleus, and he proposed that the nucleus is positively charged. The entire positive charge is concentrated at the nucleus, and the negatively charged electrons are revolving around the nucleus in circular orbits. So, some force is existing between the electrons and the protons. That force is the electrostatic force of attraction. This electrostatic force of attraction between the electrons and the nucleus that provides the required centripetal force. For electrons to revolve around the nucleus in different orbits, centripetal force is required. This is provided by that electrostatic force of attraction between the nucleus and the electrons. This model, this could account for the large angle scattering of alpha particles from the thin metal foils. See how this model explained the large angle scattering of alpha particles is, since the positive charge is concentrated at the center, the electrons are revolving around the nucleus. See, the alpha particles moving exactly towards the nucleus were found to be scattered with large angle. The alpha particles moving away from this nucleus were found to be scattered with smaller angles. This is how this model could account for the scattering of alpha particles by assuming the positively charged nucleus at the center of the atom. But this model failed to explain the stable orbits of the electrons. See, according to classical theory, any accelerated charge that should radiate energy. Here, electrons revolving around the nucleus in different orbits, in circular orbits, means they are accelerated, so they should radiate energy. If they radiate energy, their energy goes on decreasing, so that they should describe a spiral path instead of circular one. They should describe a spiral path of decreasing radius. And finally, by losing all the energy, they should fall on the nucleus. But such a thing was not observed. The atom was found to be stable, or the orbits of the electrons was found to be stable, and this was not explained by Rutherford's atomic model. There the model failed. Rutherford's model failed. So this model, later, one more model was proposed by Niels Bohr. Niels Bohr, by using quantum conditions, using quantum theory of radiation, he proposed a model. It is Bohr's atom model. The basic postulates or assumptions of Bohr's atom model are, first one is the total charge of the atom, the total positive charge of the atom concentrated at the nucleus. Electrons are revolving around the nucleus in circular orbits, different circular orbits, having definite radii. The required centripetal force provided by electrostatic force of attraction between the electrons and the nucleus. Second one is, according to Bohr's postulate, or the second Bohr's postulate is, the electrons, they cannot revolve around the nucleus in all possible orbits. They can revolve only certain selected orbits wherein there is no radiation of energy. In those orbits, the electrons, they do not radiate energy. Such orbits are called as stationary orbits. So, Bohr assumed these stationary orbits. Stationary orbits are nothing but the orbits in which there is no radiation of energy. Electrons, they do not radiate energy. Third one is, if the electron revolves around the nucleus in a stationary orbit, the angular momentum of the electron is quantized. Angular momentum is quantized. Angular momentum quantized means angular momentum is equal to an integral multiple of h by 2 pi. That is mvr equal to nh by 2 pi. N is an integer, 1, 2, 3 and so on. H is Planck's constant, m mass of the electron, v velocity of the electron, r is radius of that orbit. So in a stationary orbit, the angular momentum of the electron, it is quantized. One more postulate is, whenever electron gets energy, whenever energy is supplied to an atom, the atom absorbs energy, means electrons, they absorb energy, they move to the excited state. From their normal state, normal orbit, they move to the excited state, excited orbit, to the higher energy orbit. But in the higher energy orbit, the electrons, they remain for a fraction of time. It's a momentary state. It's not a permanent one. They come back to the original state or the normal state. During this process, we call it as the de-excitation. Coming back from the excited state to the normal state. During this process, the difference in the energy of these two orbits, these two energy states, energy levels, is emitted in the form of a radiation. It's given by E2 minus E1 equal to h nu. Nu is the frequency of emitted radiation. And using these postulates, Bohr's model, or these postulates of Bohr's model could explain certain facts. The facts such as the emission of spectral lines by hydrogen atom. Bohr proposed this model by considering hydrogen atom. For a hydrogen atom, see, in a hydrogen atom, we have only one electron revolving around the nucleus. One H1, one electron and one proton. So this model was proposed for hydrogen atom. So in a hydrogen atom, emission of spectral lines was observed, and you know that there are different series of spectral lines emitted by hydrogen atom. The emission of these spectral lines by hydrogen atom was explained using the fourth postulate, how these spectral lines are emitted, or what's the reason. The reason is de-excitation of electrons to the higher state, then de-excitation. The difference in the energy is emitted in the form of the radiation of definite frequency, say nu. And this is about the Bohr's model. This Bohr's model, based on this, Bohr's postulates, the expressions for radius of the orbit of the electron, velocity of the electron in an orbit, energy of the electron, all are derived. All these expressions are derived. I have given just the expressions. Radius of the electron in the nth stationary orbit. The radius of the nth stationary orbit is r equal to epsilon naught n square h square by pi m e square. Symbols represent the usual. N is integer, h Planck's constant, epsilon naught permittivity of free space. The value is 8.854 into 10 power minus 12 SI units. M, mass of the electron, E, charge of the electron. This is the radius of the nth stationary orbit. Then, when n equal to 1, this is the first orbit. In case of hydrogen, the normal state, normal orbit of the electron, n equal to 1. So that R becomes epsilon naught h square by pi m e square. All are constants. When you substitute, you get the value as this. And this is called as Bohr radius. Velocity of the electron in the nth orbit is V equal to E square by 2 epsilon naught nh. Energy of the electron in the nth orbit is En equal to minus m e power 4 by 8 epsilon naught square n square h square. What negative sign says? It is. So as n increases energy, if it is positive, as n increases, energy decreases because of negative sign. As n increases, energy also increases. This is the expression for energy. And the fourth postulate says, whenever electron jumps from higher level to the lower level, difference in energy is emitted in the form of the spectral line. Suppose there are two orbits or two energy levels are represented by the quantum numbers n1 and n2. Corresponding energy values are E1 and E2. Then E2 minus E1 equal to h nu. If you apply this one, by substituting energy values E2 and E1, we get h nu as this. Here, m e power 4, 8 epsilon naught square h square is common. So inside, this is minus, minus of minus plus. So this term you get 1 by n1 square minus 1 by n2 square. Or from this, nu is m e power 4 by 8 epsilon naught square h cube into this. What is nu? C by lambda. C equal to nu lambda, nu is C by lambda, equal to this. Or from this 1 by lambda, C comes here. What is 1 by lambda? It is called as wave number, denoted as nu bar. Wave number, number of waves contained in unit distance. Wave number of waves contained in 1 meter, unit distance. Wave number given by this. And this is a constant called R, nothing but Rydberg's constant. M e power 4 by 8 epsilon naught square h cube c. See all these things you have studied in your PU classes. Just refreshing the things. Just remember this expression, nu bar R into 1 by n1 square minus 1 by n2 square. And using this, the different spectral series of hydrogen spectra are explained successfully. The different spectral series of hydrogen are, say, Lyman, Balmer, Paschen, Brackett, and Pfund series. For Lyman series, this initial state orbit is n1 equal to 1. And higher states are 2, 3, 4, and so on. When transition from 2, 3, 4 levels to orbits or energy levels to the level 1 takes place, the difference in energy is emitted in the form of the spectral lines in the Lyman series. The level 2 to 1, 3 to 1, 4 to 1, and so on. You must be knowing these things very well. Balmer series, n1 is 2. N2 values are 3, 4, 5. Transitions are from 3 to 2, 4 to 2, 5 to 2. So here the different lines are observed, and those lines are named as H alpha, H beta, H gamma, H delta, and these lines are found to be in visible region, Paschen series, n1 equal to 3, n2 4, 5, 6. Bracket, n1 is 4, 5, 6, 7. Pfund series, n1 is 5, n2 is 6, 7, 8, and so on. This is how the emission of spectral lines are explained using Bohr's model. So, Bohr's model was successful in explaining the spectral emission of hydrogen and hydrogen-like atoms. Hydrogen-like atoms means singly ionized, helium, doubly ionized, lithium, and so on. So, Bohr's model was successful only in explaining the spectral series of hydrogen atom. It was applicable only for hydrogen atom. So, there are certain limitations of Bohr's atom model. The limitations are, even though it is successful in explaining the spectral lines of hydrogen, This model could not explain the spectra of atoms containing more than one electron. It could not explain the spectra of atoms containing more than one electron. The model also fails to explain fine structure of spectral lines. Fine structure means from the experimentally, when using some high resolving power instruments, when the spectral lines of hydrogen were observed, it was found that the spectral line is not a single line. Instead, so many lines are clubbed together, crowded together. This splitting up of a spectral line into many lines is called the fine structure. The Bohr's model could not explain this fine structure. This model could not explain the splitting up of the spectral lines in magnetic field and in the electric field. Splitting up in the magnetic field is called Zeeman effect. And splitting up in the electric field is called Stark effect. The Zeeman effect and Stark effect were not explained by Bohr's model. The model also fails to explain the intensity distribution of spectral lines. And the model could not account for the polarizability of the spectral lines. Thus, the Bohr's model again failed to explain certain experimentally observed facts. Later, one more model was proposed by Sommerfeld, called Sommerfeld's relativistic atom model. It is SOMMERFELDS, apostrophe S. Sommerfeld's relativistic atom model. Sommerfeld's model, he modified Bohr's model. By considering Bohr's postulates, along with that, he added few more features to the atom. He modified the model proposed by Bohr, Niels Bohr. Here, in the Sommerfeld's model, he proposed this to explain the fine structure of spectral lines. As this was not explained by Bohr's model, Sommerfeld tried to explain the fine structure. For this, he assumed that the path of the electron around the nucleus is not a circle. Instead, it is an ellipse. Electrons are revolving around the nucleus in elliptical orbits. The circular orbit is the special case of the elliptical orbit. One more feature is the velocity of the electron is different at different paths of the orbit. As the path is an ellipse, the nucleus is considered to be at one of the foci. The electron is revolving around the nucleus in the elliptical orbit, similar to the planets around the sun. So that the path of the orbit, since it is an ellipse, the velocity of the electron is different at different points. Depends on the distance of the electron from the nucleus. As the distance of the electron from the nucleus varies in this path, velocity also varies. As velocity varies in this elliptical path, according to the theory of relativity, there will be relativistic variation of mass. As mass varies, as there is relativistic variation of mass, that causes the change in energy. And using this, Sommerfeld's model, or Sommerfeld tried to explain the fine structure of spectral lines. For this, he considered two quantum numbers. One is the principal quantum number, as it was taken from Bohr's model, the principal quantum number n, which indicates or which designates the main energy levels, corresponding to the levels 1, 2, 3, and so on. Along with this n, he added one more quantum number called orbital or azimuthal quantum number, denoted as S. And the value of denoted as L. The value of L, it varies from 0 to n minus 1. This orbital quantum number determines the possible elliptical orbits. How many elliptical orbits are possible? That depends on the value of the orbital quantum number L. And the orbits are such that it's given by the formula B by A equal to L plus 1 by N. A and B are semi-major and semi-minor axis respectively. L, the orbital quantum number having value 0 to n minus 1. N is the principal quantum number. Using this, Sommerfeld tried to explain the fine structure. See here, So one example is, suppose, see, there is relativistic variation in mass that leads to variation in energy. Let us consider now let us find out the number of orbits, possible orbits for the given energy, principal quantum number n. Suppose n is 1, then L can also have only one value, it is 0. When L is 0, if you substitute in this equation, when L is 0, you get B by A equal to 1 by N, it is 1 itself. We get B by A as 1, so that A equal to B. A equal to B means the orbit is a circle. The first orbit, in case of N equal to 1, we have the electron orbit, it is circular orbit, it revolves around the nucleus in circular orbit. That orbit is denoted as 1s. The sublevels are designated as S, P, D, F and so on. Here in this case, the first orbit, it is denoted as 1s, subshell 1s. Suppose it is circular in shape. Suppose N is 2. L also having two values, 0 and 1. So N2, L equal to 0. We get B by A equal to half, so that B equal to A by 2. This orbit is denoted as 2H. See here, 2s. That orbit is denoted as 2s. B equal to A by 2. B equal to A by 2, that is taken. See, this is A, this is B. B is A by 2. So this is the orbit, elliptical orbit of the electron. It is denoted as 2s. Next, N is 2, L equal to 1. What we get again? B equal to A, means the orbit is circular orbit. So there, when the electron is in the level N equal to 2, excited to the level 2, it has got two orbital quantum numbers 0 and 1, so that it has got there are two possible orbits. One is elliptical, other one is circular. N equal to 3, we get 3 and so on. This is how Sommerfeld's model tried to explain the splitting up of energy levels. Energy level N equal to 1 has got only one level, no splitting. But N equal to 2 has split into 2, N equal to 3 splits into 3 and so on. So according to Sommerfeld, the velocity of the electron is found maximum when the electron is nearest to the nucleus, velocity minimum when it is far away from the nucleus. So the path of the electron around the nucleus is not a simple ellipse. It is not a simple ellipse. Instead, it is a precising ellipse. It's a rotating ellipse. The path of the electron itself rotates. It takes different orientations like this. The path is not a simple ellipse. It's not a single ellipse. Instead, it rotates and takes an inclination. It is precising ellipse, rotating ellipse called rosette. It's like the rose. The structure is like a rose. This Sommerfeld gave the model to explain the fine structure of the spectral lines. Even though this model could explain the fine structure of the spectral lines of hydrogen, again it was applied only for hydrogen, but this model failed to predict the correct number of observed fine structure of these lines. The exact number was not given by this model. This model also fails to explain the distribution and arrangement of electrons in different shells in the atom. It fails to explain distribution and arrangement of electrons also. This model also failed to explain the spectra of alkali metals such as sodium, potassium, etc. This model could not account for Zeeman and Stark effect. This model also failed to give the explanation for the intensities of the spectral lines. Could not explain the intensity distribution of the spectral lines. And this is about Sommerfeld's atom model. Later, one more model. This Sommerfeld's model was again modified, and that model is called the vector atom model. Let us discuss that one in the next class.